9:17 on the morning show with Jeff and Will. We are back on this fine Monday morning, sunny Monday morning. Joining us right now, as she does every Monday around this time, it is Tina Traster of the Rockland County Business Journal. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
Good morning, the good people of Rockland. We have so much to talk about today.
So much.
It's legal. A lot of legal stuff going on.
Legalese.
Well, let's start with this. So, last week, the Clarkstown versus the Palisades Center case, tax case, got underway. I was in the court on Tuesday. The judge came out around noon. There was some indication that with these, what appeared to be about 40 lawyers, I've never seen more lawyers in one place, to tell you the truth, on one issue. I think there were about 40 lawyers in the room. It seemed like they were heading towards some sort of a settlement. We were thrown out of the room for a while, and no settlement basically by the end of the week. So the trial began, and we're going to certainly keep an eye on what happens there, because the consequences for Clarkstown and the school district could be quite significant. So keep a pin in that, and we will do the same. What also happened last week was a Ramapo Satmar rabbi says it's illegal to fly an Israeli flag on government property in the town of Ramapo, and he said so in a lawsuit. Now, his name is Liebish Ilovitz, and he filed a suit last week in Rockland County Supreme Court saying that the town of Ramapo is violating New York state law, which he claims prohibits the flying of the flag of another country. Town Supervisor Michael Speck is also named as a defendant in the suit. Now,
we were just talking with him about it.
The suit, okay, I don't know what his take was. Tell me if anything I say differs from what his take is. But the summary of this, for the sake of this morning show here, is that the lawsuit relies on a New York State statute which prohibits the flying of a foreign flag on government property absent an applicable exception. However, and specifically the New York statute says, quote, "It shall not be lawful to display the flag or emblem of any foreign country upon any state, county, or municipal building." Now, the statute does make an exception for when a public official from, I guess, another country visits. But here's the thing about this state statute. It is probably, and I assume that if this goes to court, or certainly at least in their reply, what Ramapo is likely to cite, and what we cited in our story, is a Supreme Court decision from 2022, which essentially says that just as individuals have free speech rights, so do towns. And so long as a town like Ramapo does not discriminate against any other nationality or group that wants to raise the flag at the town hall, that the town itself is in its right to choose to raise the Israeli flag. Now, I don't know if the supervisor this morning said anything about taking the flag down. I don't know.
He said he has no plans to do so. He's moving to dismiss the case, and he's having the current deputy attorney, right? Did I say that right? Is currently looking at it, but that's their plan right now, is to file for a dismissal.
Well, I don't know if he'll get a dismissal, but excuse me, if this plays out, it will be interesting to hear from what I can't speak definitively, but I don't think the New York statute has been tested. But we do know that there's precedent now with a Supreme Court decision, and that is likely, like I said before, to trump this state statute. I mean, the Supreme Court has regularly recognized that a government has the right to, quote, speak for itself, and that it may quote, say what it wishes, and I'm quoting from the Supreme Court decision, and more importantly, may select the views it wants to express. So as a general rule, government speech is not subject to scrutiny under the free speech clause of the First Amendment. You know, the state can ban the flying of a flag because that would be state property. Ed Day has made a policy to not fly flags on county property. That was his prerogative, or the county's prerogative. But town by town, if you track with the Supreme Court decision, those supervisors or those officials do have a right to fly a flag. Now, the Satmar community is a sect of the Hasidic community, and it's a very strange backstory here in terms of their beliefs. They are actually anti-Zionist, anti-Israel. They don't recognize the existence of Israel, this sect of the Hasidim. And their claim in the suit is that the flag flying in Ramapo, well, they don't use the word triggers, but they're eventually saying it triggers them, it upsets them, it deters them from feeling comfortable walking into the building, or some of the things that are laid out. We lay out a lot of their arguments in the story. So they see the any symbolism like the Star of David or the flag as a Zionist symbol, and they basically say that they don't recognize Israel as a state. So this is hard to get your head around, I guess, a little bit. But like I said, we've laid it out in the story. So if you want to educate yourself, take a look at that story. It's pretty interesting, and it will be interesting to see where that lawsuit goes. Moving on, if I still have time. Yes, it's still a bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so where else did I want to go? So speaking of more lawsuits, boy, those lawyers are really busy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Nyack landlords had filed a suit in federal court to stop vacancy studies that can impose rent stabilization in the village. Now, readers who are reading carefully about this kind of wonky stuff will remember that we have been writing about Nyack's endeavor to declare what's called the ETPA, an Emergency Tenant Protection Act, where when a village or a municipality has less than a 5% vacancy rate, they can declare this emergency, and it triggers the ability to have certain rent control, rent stabilization, rent stabilization. And this has been going on in Nyack now for quite a while, where they had a study and declared a housing emergency, and then they had to walk it back and say the study was faulty. And then at their latest meetings, they said, okay, well, we're going to review this again. However, what's new is that so two local landlords from Nyack and the Hudson Valley Property Owners Association have gone to federal court essentially to prevent a third attempt for reviewing the study from bearing any fruit. Now, the landlords are Hudson Shore Associates Limited Partnership and Hudson LLC owner, and they've teamed up with this a building owner both in Poughkeepsie and this trade association, and they have filed in federal court in the Northern District of New York, and they are basically trying to walk back amendments that were made to this act, because they're basically saying that they're not fair, and they penalize if a landlord doesn't participate, and then it's calculated as 0 vacancies. What they're saying is, well, this penalizes other landlords that do comply. So this is a bit complicated, also worth watching, worth taking a look at. It's an issue that's been playing out in denser places like Kingston and Poughkeepsie and in Nyack, where certainly there is housing crisis. We talk about that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I wanted to sneak in before my time wraps up here, is we did a piece about the Jacob Sloat House, in Sloatsburg. We did a piece about them receiving a $100,000 grant for them to redo their endangered porch for what is a very fine historic house. But more importantly, as we point out and go deeply into the story, we talk about historic preservation, which, as many people know, is one of my favorite topics. And we sort of just take a look generally at where in the county we see the best examples of houses, historic houses, homes that have been saved and put back into use, like the Orangetown Museum, like the Historical Society's building in New City, in contrast to other historic buildings that have either been, let's say, saved but not really maximized, or the worst example is the Henry Varnum Poorhouse in Clarkstown, which is deteriorating, by the minute. But in the case of the Friends of Harmony Hall, this is a group that has been really active, really innovative, really robust programming. And the point of really the story is that when friend groups and or even governments try to preserve and hold on to these houses, the key, the kernel to the success generally is engagement, involvement, volunteerism, and usually, what makes that happen is, like I just said, robust programming, even if that programming is taking place while the house is being brought back to life, renovated, as is the case of the Jacob Sloat House. So, that's where the Bluegrass Festival is, and the Grateful Dead Music Festival is in the summer. So it's a great organization, great property, and great news for them to have been gifted $100,000, and they're still looking for another $45,000 to $50,000 to be able to complete the project in total.
Wow. So much legal and business news to discuss here this morning. And we thank you, Tina Traster of the Rockland County Business Journal, for giving it all to our lovely listeners. And if anybody else wants any more information, all things Rockland County business, you make sure you go to RCBiz, that's RCBIZ, journal.com, or you check out their Facebook or Twitter pages. All of it's up to you, but definitely check it out. We recommend it. Have a great rest of your week, Tina. We will talk to you next Monday.
Okay, have a great time.